Hey everyone, this is Robin from Designhill and your host for today. I hope you and your family are keeping well and safe. I would like to welcome you for this session where we are going to talk about 7 lessons all freelancers need to know. Today's event is brought to you by Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike who can source high quality designs from professional designers and buy unique products created by independent artists. So, guys, moving ahead, let me introduce our speaker for today. We have an amazing guest today, guys, and he is Jimmy Narain. Jimmy is a Udemy partner, entrepreneur, and top rated speaker with around half million students online and more than 60,000 testimonials. He previously worked for companies like Alliance and Goldman Sachs. Jimmy delivers corporate training to Fortune 500 companies worldwide. His courses have received multiple mentions by publications such as Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Business Insider. After working for Goldman Sachs, Jimmy knew it wasn't for him. So he started his location independent business and have been running it for almost a decade from 78 countries. So, guys, before Jimmy shares his insights from his direct experience that he has gained over the years, let's see a short video of Jimmy.
How are you feeling about it so far? Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for the perfect moment to do something. I will give you an opportunity to come up to the stage.
I want to stop saying yes when I really want to say no.
The habit I want to break is to stop holding myself back.
I want to break the habit of sleeping past 11.
I need to take is to be authentic at the exit interview with my boss.
So you're already making it happen.
Jimmy Narain has become one of the most successful educators on Udemy. Jimmy has 38,000 five-star reviews from his students.
Jimmy is truly extraordinary. He's the background of starting in Goldman Sachs and really is a world-class presenter.
Has an incredible online business, lots of knowledge, and has had his own fair share of money challenges through his life.
Do you feel more energy now?
もっとエネルギッシュになりましたよね。もっとエネルギッシュになりましたよね。
My pleasure and my honor to introduce Mr. Jimmy Narain. Mr. Jimmy Narain.
Just shake it off.
Wow. So, guys, I would like to mention that the video you just saw of Jimmy speaking from different stages, it will be very hard to believe that he also grew up in post-communist Poland with no money and speaking only Polish. For a long time, he suffered from anxiety, confidence issues, and even occasional panic attacks. And now you see him on stage pumping the audience with his massive energy. So I must say, Jimmy, what an incredible transition. Really impressive, man. So I guess now our audience would be really curious to know your insights, Jimmy. So would you like to start by telling us how you made this great transition happen, suffering from confidence issues and anxiety to what you today are?
Awesome, Robin. Thank you so much. Thank you for a great introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining in, and I appreciate you showing that video. By the way, you see the cat over there? The cat wants to be in front of a camera. So listen, first of all, thanks so much for all of you for joining. I do appreciate your time. I don't take it lightly. I know that there are a ton of different things you could be doing right now, from Netflix to, I don't want to give you too many ideas, but you could be doing a lot of different things. So I do appreciate the fact that you joined in to see this presentation. So yes, I will share with you a little bit about how I transitioned from me being really shy, being very anxious, having panic attacks, to being the person that I am right now. But the main thing I want to say right from the get-go is that this presentation is not about me, it's about you, right? So rather than talking a lot about myself, I want to focus on the lessons that will help you. So I'm going to give you 7 lessons. I will probably give you some sub lessons in between those lessons as well. And no matter who you are, what is your situation, if you are a freelancer or a business owner, or perhaps you're not a freelancer yet, you want to become one. Perhaps you're a student, right? You don't know what to do with your life. Doesn't matter who you are, you will benefit from those lessons. Now, of course, I customize them specifically to freelancers, but everyone will benefit from those lessons. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to approach this topic holistically. Okay, so I'm going to give you various things so we can tackle life from different angles. So we're going to talk about things like confidence. We're going to talk about productivity. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about you making more money, etc. Right? So I hope that you're excited. Can you hear me well, by the way? Is everything okay? Just want to confirm.
Yes, guys, please do share in the chat section if you can hear Jimmy.
Yeah. Just want to make sure before I dive into the content, I want
Yes.
to make sure that you can see me, you can hear me well.
And guys, before moving forward, Jimmy, I would like to tell you that we are giving away certificates to all the attendees. But guys, for that, you would have to stick till the very end. So brace yourself and stay tuned till the very end.
I have to say, this is a very clever idea, that you're doing this. But listen, from my side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to give you as much value as possible. So when you finish this call, you will look in the mirror and you will say, okay, I know something I didn't know before. And look, it's not just because I know everything, because I don't. People often think that just because you teach, you must know everything. No, I don't know everything. I still have a lot of questions that I don't know the answers to. But what I know is that if somebody told me back in the day that one day I would live the life I'm living now, I wouldn't have believed. So you mentioned, Robin, that I struggled with anxiety issues, with confidence issues, even with occasional panic attacks. And it is true. So I grew up, and I make it very brief because I want to get into the lessons, but there will be a lesson in itself as well. I grew up in post-communist Poland. I spoke only Polish, right? So imagine me. I'm there speaking only Polish. My father came from South America. So a lot of kids would ask me, hey, what are you doing here? When are you going back to your country? Experience a little bit of racism, right? So I always felt like an outsider, always felt different. And again, just speaking Polish, not having a lot of money. And, back then in Poland, going anywhere out there abroad was like a big dream. It was a dream that a lot of people didn't believe in, right? A lot of teachers even told me, listen, kid, just try to finish school and forget about all of those dreams of traveling the world. It probably will not happen. So, don't disappoint yourself. Just do what you got to do and live a normal life. But I had a dream. I had a belief, and I knew that there is more out there, right? So I had a lot of limiting beliefs at the same time. So it's a weird thing, right? You have big dreams, but at the same time, you have limiting beliefs and anxiety. But fortunately, at some point, I discovered personal development, and I realized, okay, there are people out there who managed to overcome the odds. There are people out there who, for instance, grew up in Rwanda and genocide, and now they are living life to the fullest. If they can do it, well, it means I can do it too, right? So once you dig into it and you realize that there are so many stories of people who overcame the odds, you realize that there is a blueprint, there is a way you can create your own reality. And that's what I started doing. So, literally fast forward, bam, bootstrap myself to a British university, started pushing my comfort zone, embraced cheap travel. Back then I had no money, so I would hitchhike and I would book cheap flights and sleep on beaches and benches. But I always tried to push myself to do more, to experience more, to become more. And this is why I know that, being successful and being more confident and being a better presenter and being a better entrepreneur, and in the case of many of you, being a better, more higher paid freelancer, is not just some talent. It's not just something that you either have or don't. It is something you have to work on. It's something that anyone can get. Okay, so I want to start with that. So let's get into the lessons. And actually, in fact, by the way, before we get into the lessons, if you are tuning in live, I'm really curious to hear where you come from. Okay, before I even start with the lessons, I'm curious where you come from. I've been traveling full time, 78 different countries so far, and the chances are I've been to one of those places that you are from, or it's on my list. So I believe I've seen, I see Ana Lu, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, from the Philippines. I literally did a podcast this morning with a guy who lives in the Philippines, and I went to Manila and I went to Palawan. Really beautiful place. Okay, so we've got Philippines. We've got Monica from Peru. Hola, Monica. Espero que todo está perfecto contigo. Saludos. I've been to Peru as well. I really enjoy Peru. Machu Picchu, Lake Titicaca, beautiful place. And I'm curious to see where everyone else is tuning in from. I see, hold on, Akhtar from Pakistan. Very nice to see you here. I've never been to Pakistan. It's on the list. Also, I see Fatima from Iran. I see Malti from Suriname. My father is from Guyana, very close to Suriname, actually. So it's also on the list. I see Caroline from the Netherlands. I was there just this September. Really love Netherlands. It's such a great place. See people from India, Afrin from India, Marinda from South Africa. A lot of my friends are now in South Africa doing a Nomad conference called Nomad Base in Cape Town. So I almost went there, didn't have the time, but my friends are there right now. Heard great things. I see Rosita from Indonesia. Apa kabar? Terima kasih for joining. I see Elaine from the States. I was there just this July. Abdelaziz from Egypt. Awesome. Abdelaziz. Florence from Kenya. Jambo Habarizan Gioni. I see Utika from Bangladesh. I see also MD Asif from Bangladesh. Super nice. I see Saiful from Bangladesh. Keisha from Caribbean. Okay, guys, I see a lot of people joining in. Desi from Indonesia as well. Kamina from Algeria. Thank you for letting me know where you're tuning in from. That's awesome. It's always nice to see that I can have connection with people from all over the world. This is actually one of the reasons why I do what I do. I love to have impact, but specifically on people from all over the world. By the way, if you haven't commented yet, comment. I'm going to read those comments a bit later. But let's start with lesson number one. Lesson number one is you got to be confident. You got to work on your confidence the way you work on other things in your life. And you see, the crazy thing about confidence is that even though we all take a shower every day, we brush our teeth, right? We select our clothing carefully. We wash our clothing. We wash the dishes. We do those things daily. Very few people work on their confidence on a daily basis. And confidence is everything, right? Confidence is everything. For instance, me delivering this presentation, I have confidence. The reason I have confidence is because, well, first of all, I cultivated the belief in myself, but I also pushed myself over and over again. And I know that the content I'm going to deliver comes from my experience and that it works. That gives me confidence. And because of that confidence, I can speak to you in a confident manner, in a captivating manner. And this is so important because, listen, you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. If you don't have confidence, it's immensely difficult for other people to have confidence in you, right? So one of the most important things we have to remember about, and it's worth reminding ourselves of it, is that, your self-image will never argue with you, right? Your self-image will become whatever you want it to become. So if your self-image is negative, and mine used to be very negative when I was growing up in Poland, I used to think that I'm the skinny kid with elf ears. So you see, I still have my elf ears, but now I appreciate them, Yeah, I look a bit like an elf. That's fine. I own it, right? But I had this very negative self-image, skinny kid, elf ears, shy, an outsider. No one likes you, right? Those types of thoughts were coming up into my head every single day. It is very hard to accomplish things in life if that's how you perceive yourself. Okay, it's very hard to accomplish anything in life. So you got to work on your confidence. When you develop a really powerful self-image, when you develop a powerful identity, it's going to be so much easier to go through life. So the question is, how do you do it? Well, we could do a full-blown session just on this, but there are a couple of things that you have to do. First of all, you want to make sure that you take a daily confidence shower. You want to make sure that you work on your confidence daily. Right? And this is a big lesson because a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to do a seminar once a year, or I'm just going to read a book once every few months. But it's not enough. If you really want to improve your confidence, you have to work on it every single day. The best way, the easiest way to do it, take a piece of paper. Just take a piece of paper, take a pen, and just write down things you appreciate about yourself. Write down the things that you are happy about. Write down the things, the characteristics that you are proud of. Also, write down certain impossibilities in your life that became your possibilities, right? We all have those types of things in our lives. For instance, maybe the job you have back in the day seemed impossible to get, and now you have it. right? Or maybe the business you have. A lot of you are freelancers. Maybe you still remember the time when you were younger and you didn't have any job and you said to yourself, I don't just want to work for a regular corporation. I want to be a freelancer. I want to do design. I want to do maybe web production, whatever it is, right? But you had a dream and it seemed impossible. And now you made it possible. But how often do we remind ourselves of those things? Not very often, right? Most of the times we compare ourselves to other people and we overthink what other people may think about us. But Winston Churchill said something that stuck with me. He said that when we are in our 20s, we keep wondering and worrying what people think about us. When you are in your 40s, you stop caring. But when you get to your 60s, you realize that no one was thinking about you in the first place. And this is so true because most people, well, actually everyone is too busy thinking about themselves to be constantly thinking about you. So for instance, right now, a lot of people in this situation, speaking to the camera, being on the microphone, being watched by a lot of people from all over the world, they would feel really anxious. Why? Why do we feel anxious in those moments? And by the way, I promise you, I'm going to give you business lessons as well. But why would we feel anxious? Well, because there is a fear of rejection. What if those people don't like me? What if I get rejected? What if they judge me? But you have to remember that whenever you worry about other people judging you, they're actually too busy thinking about themselves. The moment you worry about someone judging you, that same person is probably worrying that you will judge them. Okay? So this is a big mindset shift. So again, it's important. These are just some of the tools, some of the ideas I wanted to give you today, because just thinking about those things will help you to feel a little bit more comfortable in your own skin. And before we move to the next lesson, just want to tell you a very quick and easy way to boost your confidence. And it's your body language. Your body language. How would you feel if I talk to you like this? If I slouched and I just talk to you like this all the time? Without any facial expressions, without modulating my voice. Imagine I talk to you like this in a very monotonous way. How would you feel? Would you want to watch it or not? Probably not right now. Again, body language, so important. Now that I straighten up, and I can't do it too much because I have a microphone I have to stick to, but I'm sitting straight. I have my arms open, right? My spine is straight. I gesticulate. I'm animated. Whatever emotions I feel, I try to express them, right? I'm not thinking about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. I'm here and in the now, and I focus on delivering my message to you, right? This is congruent body language. And what happens is, you are perceived as a more confident person with this type of body language, but also other people. Well, no, actually, so, okay, there are two things, right? You are perceived as a more confident person, but also deep inside, you feel more confident. So it's kind of like two sides of the same coin, right? You are perceived to be more confident, but also you feel more confident if you use your body in the right way. And a lot of us make a mistake of when we don't feel good, it's expressed in our body language. You don't feel good about today, you start slouching, you start looking down, you start doing those types of gestures. When you do this, all of this is sending a signal to your brain, hey, we are not feeling very confident today. So guess what? You feel even less confident. When you feel less confident, you do more of those type of gestures. You know, you cover your mouth, maybe you scratch your face, you look down, and then guess what? You feel even less confident. So catch yourself doing those behaviors, snap out, and embrace a positive body language. All right. So that was lesson number one. Let me check the chat very quickly here to see some comments before we jump into the second lesson. That's also really powerful. And by the way I designed it is I'm going to start with those life lessons, the lessons that have to do with personal development. But as we move throughout the presentation, I'm going to tackle more business. Why is that? I believe that what you do with yourself, with your own mind, this is the foundation. Your confidence is the foundation. But then as we move on, I will talk to you about branding, about establishing yourself as a more powerful freelancer. I'm going to talk to you about business, okay? Making more money. We will talk about it. Okay, but let's see some comments. All right, so I see more people tuning in. I see some people. I see Nebojša from Serbia. I've been to Serbia many times. Samuel from Nigeria. Samuel, thank you so much. His powerful speech. Thank you. Donatian from Rwanda. It's interesting. I was just talking about Rwanda before. I'm not sure if you were here, but I was talking about, for instance, people from Rwanda, right, who experienced the genocide, snapping out of it and managing to build amazing lives. And also, and this is what I didn't mention, is Rwanda in 1994 was the most dangerous place in the world. But right now, it's the safest place in Africa. Rwanda is like one of the most developed and safest places in Africa right now. So it's incredible, how, people and countries can stay resilient and bounce back from misfortune. I feel like we can learn a lot from Rwandans about bouncing back from adversity. So thank you for tuning in. Fatim says these tips are awesome and important. I appreciate that. Akar, thank you so much. Florence, thank you, everyone. Okay, let me keep going with this, but I appreciate you tuning in and posting the comments. It's always nice when I see that there are people out there, that I'm not just talking to a webcam over there. Okay, the second lesson, self-leadership. A lot of people, when they think about leadership, they think, well, leadership is about leading other people. It's about making people do things. Well, actually, leadership is not about making people do things. It is about making people want to do things and buying into your vision. But it always starts, and everything else in life starts with self-leadership. Self-leadership. And I should say also everyday leadership. So what are those things? Well, again, a lot of people have misconception. To be a leader, you have to have a title. You have to be a manager or a CEO or MD or whatever it is. No, you don't. You don't have to have a title. You can be a leader without a title. So self-leadership is taking a good look at your life and deciding that you will take control of your life, that you will lead yourself. And by the way, how can you lead anybody else in your business or even in your personal life if you cannot lead yourself? So self-leadership is important. Cultivating that self-leadership, looking at yourself and asking yourself, okay, who am I? Where do I want to get, right? So you are here and you want to get here. Okay, how will you get there? What do you have to do to get there? What are the demons that are holding you back? What are the negative habits you have to break? What are the positive habits that you should develop, right? So self-leadership is about that. It's about gaining self-awareness, taking some time to really look at yourself and honestly assess yourself. Before, when we talked about confidence, I said it's important to, look at the good things about yourself. Take the daily confidence shower. That is important. That is going to build your confidence. If you keep adding those things to the list that you feel great about, different characteristics that you like about yourself, or situations where you performed really well, or impossibilities that became your possibilities, that's going to build your confidence. But now it's also important to get honest with yourself. And as you're building that everyday confidence, you also have to build that leadership. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, how can you change your life? Where are you? Where do you want to get? What is the plan of action? And be conscious of it. And I'm talking about it because a lot of people miss out on it. A lot of people just kind of sleepwalk through life. A lot of people go like zombies, right? You just kind of go like a zombie and you just see what happens. And this is actually a very common phrase, right? When you ask people, hey, what are your goals for next year? A lot of people say, well, I don't know. I guess I just want to do a little bit better. Let's see what happens. Right? And I don't see this phrase, let's see what happens. To me, it's BS. You got to make things happen, right? Your life is limited. Your life is ending literally 1 minute at a time. Like every minute we are getting older. And this is the reality. And oftentimes we don't realize it, right? So I feel like it is important to take charge, and self-leadership is about that. It's about making that big decision that you will take charge of your life. The easiest way to start is ask yourself, where do you want to be, say 2 years from now? Where do you want to be? And who do you have to become to get there, right? What types of qualities you want to adopt to get there? What type of person do you want to become? What is the ideal version of your future self? And design that future self, right? If you, for example, sleep in late, you wake up maybe 10 a.m., right? Or 11 or whatever it is. Or maybe you smoke cigarettes, or you don't exercise, or you eat unhealthy food, right? If you do those things, well, then you got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, okay, who do I want to become? Okay, I want to become that amazing version of myself. Maybe I shouldn't be eating fast food all the time. Okay, let's skip that. Let's sort it out. Let's get rid of it. Maybe I should wake up earlier. Okay, set an alarm and commit to waking up. Maybe I should exercise. Otherwise, I will not have longevity. Make that decision. Start creating those habits and start setting up goals. And just doing that will help you with your business as well. A lot of people think, well, but I want to learn about business. Well, this is business. Because if you take control, if you build your confidence, if you work on your self-leadership, if you decide where you want to be, who you want to become, and how you're going to get there, you literally create a plan of action. You make a project out of yourself. The way you do a business project, you become your own project. When you do those things, guess what? You will be better in your business. You will make more things happen. All right? So, and by the way, I understand these are the topics. We could talk about each one of those lessons for hours. I have courses on confidence. I could talk about confidence for 10 hours. Same goes for leadership. But here, I want to distill the most important lessons with something actionable, but also mindset shifts. So when you jump out of this call, you will get an array of different things, right? You will get various tips and strategies and also thoughts that will propel you to think in a bit different way. So as you come out of this session, you will look in the mirror and you will say, I never thought about it this way. Interesting. I think I know what I got to do. Having said that, let me check out some comments very quickly, and we're going to get to the next tip. And by the way, thank you. I really appreciate all of your feedback. Let me check some comments. Okay. Thank you so much. Donation, thank you for providing that info, the email. Thanks. Okay. So, guys, let's get into the next lesson. So now we talked about personal development. I want to switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about branding. All right, a bit different lesson. I want to make sure everyone gets something for them. Okay, everyone has a brand, whether we like it or not. Right? You may not want to have a brand. Some people say, I don't want to have a brand, but you already have a brand, whether you want it or not. Right? And I want to give you a thought experiment. The Google test. And you can, by the way, you can do it. You can do it right now. I just don't want you to get too distracted, but you can literally do it right now, right? If you open the incognito browser and you Google your name, the question is what's going to show up. Like literally, you Google your full name, what is going to show up? And whatever shows up or doesn't show up, now you have to ask yourself, what does it say about me? And I know that this may sound very shallow. Jimmy, you shouldn't judge the book by its cover. And I get it. Yes, we shouldn't judge the book by its cover. But everyone does. In business, we all judge the book by its cover, right? For instance, you came in to watch this presentation. One of the reasons is that I have some type of credibility, right? You're thinking to yourself, okay, this guy traveled for 10 years running a business. He speaks on all of those stages, works with Fortune 500 companies, right? Teaching 500,000 people. He probably knows something that I want to learn. But what if I came in here and I said, well, I haven't done anything in my life. I'm just getting started. The chances are a lot of you wouldn't watch this session. So credibility is important, right? Whether we want to admit it or not. And you have a brand, whether you want to admit it or not. So if somebody Googles your name and they don't see absolutely anything, well, that says something about you, right? If someone is thinking about hiring a freelancer, right? Or maybe you have a different type of business. Someone is thinking about doing business with you. They Google your name or your company's name. They don't see anything. That tells them something about you. Even worse, if the only thing they see is some old social media account with a bunch of party photos, right? That also says something about you. So one of the biggest lessons is that you want to control your digital footprint, right? If you want to become better in business, you have to take control of what's out there. You have to consciously build your brand. You see, building brands takes time. And because of that, most people don't want to do it. Most people can't be bothered to do it. They know it takes time. So they say, you know what? It takes too much time. I'm just going to try to get clients the regular way. I'm not going to build my brand, right? But as you are trying to level up, as you're trying to get more customers, as you're trying to increase your fees, a big part of it will be brand. Really, trust me. If you want to double, triple your income, literally the only way to do it, well, actually not the only way, but I would say the easiest way to do it is to build up your brand. So how do you build up your brand? Well, there are a couple of different things that you can do. For example, you can do something that most people wouldn't want to do, wouldn't be bothered to do. You can start posting online. And you don't need to do it on every single platform, but you want to pick your platform, whatever works for you. Some people love Instagram, some people love LinkedIn, some people love TikTok, right? Or YouTube. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you pick a platform that works for you, that you enjoy using, and you start sharing your expertise on that platform. And listen, you don't have to get millions of followers right away. It's not about that. It's about showing to the world that you have something to share. When you share your knowledge in the format of a video course or a free video series or blog posts or maybe carousels on Instagram or graphics or some type of infographic slides or whatever it is, whatever you decide to do, when you share that knowledge with your audience, well, what's going to happen is when you give value to people, your audience is going to grow. It is inevitable. It may not grow very fast, but it is going to grow. You will become a better teacher and better expert by sharing those things. And also, when there is a potential client you want to work with, when they Google your name, they will see those things. And that's going to make an impression on them. Listen, I hire people. I hire freelancers all the time. And when I see a freelancer who does those things, that tells me, wow, that person is a go-getter. That person is really trying to take it to the next level. I love that. One very easy thing you can do is you can make a personal video. Okay. So the video you saw, the video that Robin showed at the beginning of me being on all of those stages, all the logos, all of that, you can make a video like this for yourself. And listen, it doesn't have to be 1.5 minutes. It could be a 15-second video or 30-second video, right? But you want to have something that represents you. Ideally, what I recommend, and this will boost your brand immediately. Listen, if you just implement this strategy that I'm going to tell you about now, I guarantee you that it's going to help you. There's no way it will not help you. And you know why? Because your competition, most people will not do it. They will not do it. They are too afraid, or they can't be bothered. They don't want to waste their time on it. Waste their time. Well, it's actually investing time, but they think it's a waste of time. If you do it, it's going to benefit you. And again, it's about making that intro video. You don't need a fancy camera. You can literally just take your phone, right? Nowadays, most phones have really good cameras. You set it up, you write a script, or you write bullet points, right? Different people, different strategies. But you want to decide what you're going to say. What is the best way to introduce yourself, right? What are the bullet points you have to mention? What is your experience? What do you bring to the table? What makes you different than other people? Why should people hire you? This process will take you some time, but you want to write those things down. You want to figure out how would you present yourself so other people want to do business with you, so they want to hire you. And then you practice it out loud. You write a couple of bullet points, and then you read them out, and then you practice out loud. Hey, my name is, let's say, hey, my name is Robin. I do this and that. I've done X, Y, and Z. I'd love to work with you. Here is how we can work together. Whatever. You practice it a bunch of times until you are pretty happy with how it sounds. And then you set up your phone. You put a little basic mic. Those mics are super cheap. $20, even $15. You can get a basic mic that's going to work well enough. And you can make that video introduction. And guess what? When you're trying to get new clients, you send them that video. Also, what you can do is when you try to work with a specific client, in addition to one video, one general video that you make to introduce yourself, maybe with some of your testimonials, some reviews from other clients, what you can do is you can jump on Loom or some other software, and you can make a personalized video to your potential client. Recently I was hiring people who speak Spanish, and this one guy, he jumped on Loom and he literally said, hey, Jimmy, I just want to make a short video to introduce myself. I read your job posting and I would love to work with you. And I'm just going to tell you quickly a few things I can do for you. I listened to that. I watched that video and I was so impressed. I hired the guy right away because most people don't want to do it. Okay. So anyhow, I could talk about business for hours. So I have to stop myself because I want to share with you other lessons. But branding is everything. And if you do what I just told you about, you're going to increase your brand tremendously. All right. By the way, if you want to build a course, before I forget, Robin is sharing a couple of resources here. One of the resources he's going to share is my website. It's just jimmynarain.com. Over there, you can get my free checklist for building an online course. And there is a free ebook also about building online courses. When I say free, I mean free. No upsells, no promotions. You get a proper ebook with pure value inside. Okay. Wanted to let you know about it. Let me check some comments. And I'm gonna get into the next. And by the way, some of those other tips are also extremely powerful. Like I'm sharing good stuff with you today. Trust me. Like these are the things that, listen, if someone told me about those things 10 years ago, my life would be better now. I love my life, but it would have been better because these are the things that I learned, some of them the hard way. And if you can implement those things right away, those things will help you so much. All right. Let me see some comments. All right. So, excellent. Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, listen, everyone, thank you so much. And I see also Alucine joined in from Sierra Leone. Are you from Freetown, by the way? I read a really great book by a guy who was born in Sierra Leone. I can't remember the name, but anyhow, but yeah, I really want to go at some point to Sierra Leone. This is awesome. Okay, cool. Guys, let me get into the next tip. All right. The next lesson, by the way, Robin,
guys, Jimmy, we have some questions in the questions tab. So if you would like to take up the questions now, or
if they're relevant to what I just talked about, I mean, sure, we can. Yeah, we can start with some questions right away.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. So, guys, so here's the thing. There are a couple of lessons I want to share with you, but as you can see, I don't have the slides. One of the reasons I didn't prep the slides is because I like to keep things flexible, and precisely because I knew some questions would come. So, Robin, thank you for letting me know about the questions. So I'm going to see some of the questions now. I'll try to pick. I can't answer all of them probably right now in this moment, before I dig into the rest of the lessons, because some of those questions may be covered in the lessons. But let me see what we have in here. Okay. William asks, hello, Jimmy. I feel shy in the beginning while talking to a client. Please suggest some tips to break the ice. Very good question. I'm not sure if I should click start live answer, if that makes sense. I'll just start talking. I'm not sure. Robin, tell me if I should click anything, but I'm just going to start talking. Okay, William, very good question. Again, one of those questions we could talk about for an hour. Like, there are a lot of different things we could talk about. But here's the thing. Okay, you feel shy before you talk to a client. Number one thing, before you even jump on a call with a client, warm yourself up. Get yourself into the talkative state. This is so important. The last thing you want to do is you being silent in your own head, and then you meet the client, whether it's virtually or in person, and now you have to talk. It feels awkward. It takes time to warm up. So you want to make sure that you warm up before you even talk to that client. So for example, even myself, listen, I'm a confident guy. I've done a lot of things, but I'm not fixed. No one is fixed. I keep learning on myself. I keep trying to get better. If I have a big call or like a massive presentation, one of those corporate presentations where I know they pay me a lot of money and it's a lot of people going online, and the stakes are very high because if I deliver, I'll get another gig, and if I don't, I will not. So there's a lot of pressure. Before those types of gigs, listen, I don't just sit there in silence. I warm myself up, right? I try to push my comfort zone the same day before I get on that call or before I do that training, right? For example, if I do a training in person, I do a big negotiation in person beforehand, I'm going to do a smaller meeting, or I'm going to schedule a smaller presentation to warm myself up. So by the time I meet that big client or I do that massive presentation, I'm already in the zone. It's kind of like with jumping into cold water. When you jump initially, it feels cold. But then when you jump again and again, at some point, it just starts feeling warm. You adjust to the new environment, right? So that's what you want to do. Another thing is remind yourself right before you start talking to your client that your client is just a human being. You see, I know a lot of people who hire people, and because they are my friends, I see different sides to them. I see them in their private lives. And listen, they are just like you and me. We are all just human. We all have to eat. We all have to sleep. We all have to use the toilet, right? And we all have our demons. So it's a good reframe when you are talking to a potential client and that person intimidates you. And this is going to help you really, William. Imagine this. Picture that client. And rather than picturing them with all their accolades and how much money they have and how much power they have, picture them how they used to be when they were smaller, when they were teenagers, when they were kids, running around, screaming and doing really silly things. Picture them like that. Picture them in their private life. Picture that person in your head. Picture that person with their problems, the relationship problems, or maybe health problems. Basically, what you want to do is you want to humanize that person before you talk to them. And you will see that when you do it in your head, even if you do it, listen, even if you do it for 30 seconds before doing that meeting, that in itself will help you to loosen up a little bit, okay? Because one of the things that, always impresses, people who are very successful is when others treat them like human beings, right? Because it can get quite, it gets quite annoying when everyone puts you on a pedestal, when people are afraid to talk to you, when people get really stressed out and weirded out when they talk to you, when people try to be too formal talking to you, it weirds you out. So a lot of those people who are in a position of power, they are actually very happy when someone treats them like a human being. It's very refreshing. Okay, so anyhow, I could talk and talk and talk, but I'm going to give you this for now. And by the way, this is good. This is actually an interesting question. So thank you for asking it. I'm going to make a video and I'm going to post it on social media because this is a very good question. Okay, let's see some other questions. Okay, Florence is asking, Jimmy, I recently moved to Turkey and I need to learn Turkish. Can you share some tips on how you learned English? Okay, very quickly. because actually, this is very simple. The mistake a lot of people make is that they overly focus on perfection. They focus on grammatical rules, and they don't focus enough on just trying to go out there and speak the language, right? The best way to speak is to make mistakes. The best way to learn how to speak is by speaking. A lot of people don't realize it. So, I learned English by taking a massive imperfect action. I would memorize lists of vocabulary, and I would just go out there and try to practice as much as possible. When I learned Spanish, when I learned other languages, speak some Portuguese, Italian. I speak, what else? What else do I speak? Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, Polish, English. That's it. But when I learned those languages, I would literally go on the streets. I would take a piece of paper with a bunch of phrases, and I would just start talking to people. And I would make mistakes, but that's how you learn. You are in this uncomfortable state, adrenalized state, but that's when you remember the best. Okay, very powerful. Now, also with certain languages, you can hack the system. For instance, there are things called cognates. There are words that are similar in English and other languages. For instance, possible, possible in Spanish, or possibile in Italian. Abbreviation in English is abbreviación in Spanish. So, spelling is very similar, just the pronunciation is a little bit different. Also, for pretty much any language, what I encourage you to do is learn the most frequent words, right? Use the 80-20 principle, right? 80-20 basically says that roughly, and by the way, this applies, what I'm talking about now applies to business as well. 80-20 principle says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions, your input, your time, your effort. So basically, very few things really matter, right? So instead of learning all the vocabulary, you want to ask yourself, what are the 10%, maybe 20% of words that appear 80% of the time, right? And you want to learn those. And nowadays it's so easy because you simply Google 500 most common words and phrases in Turkish, and you start with those. And when you learn 500 most common phrases and words, you pretty much know 80% of the language. Okay, so these are my tips for language learning. Guys, before I dig into other questions, I'm going to get to the next lesson because I want to make sure that I can cover those lessons because they're really, really valuable. Okay, next lesson. You got to be bold, and you can't shoot yourself in the foot right from the beginning. So what do I mean by this? When you try to get new clients, when you want to elevate your brand, you have to be bold. You have to go for big goals because paradoxically, sometimes there is less competition for the big goals. Now, it sounds weird, but I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you a personal example. So I had many situations in my life when I would read a book and I liked the way that person wrote it. I'm like, wow, I'm a big fan of this author. Now, most people, what they do is they're like, okay, cool, great book, let me move on. But what I like to do, and I don't do it all the time, but I do it sometimes. If I like someone's book, I'll take my phone. I go on Instagram. I'll send an audio or a video, and I just say, hey, so-and-so, listen, my name is Jimmy Narain. Just want to let you know, incredible book. I will be recommending it to everyone I know. I especially like what you did with X, Y, and Z. Hey, just want to say, kudos, congratulations, and thank you. 20-second message, 30-second message, right? And I just do that. There's an impulse. I say thank you. And you know what? The weird thing is that a lot of those people respond. Oh, wow, Jimmy, thank you so much for this amazing video. What about you? What do you do? And I've built some relationships through that, right? It's incredible what happens when you are bold, when you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Now, most people would say, now, why would I send a message? Why would they respond to me? I'm a nobody. They are that big best-selling author. But you would be surprised. People respond. The same thing applies to getting big clients. Right? A lot of people, when they see a big client, a dream client, they'll never try. They'll never try. And even if they try, after the first no, they give up. But because most people assume that it's pretty much impossible to get that gig, right? Most people will not try. So be that person who actually tries, because I tell you what, if you are really good at what you do, if, as I said, you work on your confidence, you work on your self-leadership, right? If you do all of that, you work on your brand, and then you are bold and you take action, and you reach out for the stars, guess what? You may not hit the stars. You're going to hit the moon. You're going to end up landing on a moon, right? So this is a big mindset shift I wanted you to know about because it's powerful. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. And also another thing I want to tell you, and this is something, and by the way, William, you were asking before, and I'm going to get back into the questions, but William was asking about being more comfortable before doing meetings with a client. So, the next lesson actually applies to that. So whenever you have a big meeting, whenever you have negotiation, whenever you have some type of discussion with important people, rather than just going into it blindly, take your time to anticipate potential questions, to anticipate potential flow of the conversation, and then prepare for it, rehearse for it. So, for example, one of the things that I do, I have a course that helps people to nail any interview, right? And one of the things I say in that course is that people oftentimes, and this happens so many times, they go to a job interview or a client interview. They're trying to get a new client. And what happens is the person says, hey, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And they are stuck. They don't know what to say. They're caught off guard. What do you mean tell you about myself? Like, what should I say? Like they literally don't know what to say. And I get it. It's not easy to label yourself. But here's the thing. This is the most common question people ask. Tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about the projects you've done. These are the most common questions you will be asked. So it would be silly not to prepare for them. If you know you go into certain environment and people ask you certain questions, you may as well prepare your answers. I'm not talking about writing down and memorizing the answers. You can clearly see I'm a flowy person. I don't believe in writing scripts and memorizing them. But what you can do is you can write down bullet points, right? And practice them out loud. So next time someone asks you a tough question, you know how to answer. You feel comfortable answering that question. And this applies to so many different situations. So yeah, when you negotiate with a new client, what you want to do, and again, I know a lot of you are freelancers. What you want to do is you want to anticipate potential scenarios. What can happen? What will you talk about? What questions will they ask you? Then based on your response to those questions, what other questions they can ask you. So you can create a tree of possible questions. You prepare out loud. No, you don't just write those things down. You know, in your own time, you talk out loud so you get comfortable with saying certain things out loud. When you do that, you will feel way more comfortable when you deal with any potential client. All right. So let me check some comments here and questions. And I hope this is helpful. I really hope this is helpful. All right. So Elise is asking, hi, Jimmy. I'm Elise from the US. I have a question. How do you manage your professional work along with traveling extensively? Okay, very interesting question. So I travel full time. Last 10 years, I literally have been traveling full time, nonstop. I live off my suitcase. I live in hotels. Even this house, this is Airbnb, a big house in the mountains. It's like a nice cottage in the mountains, middle of nowhere. And I'm here for 1 month and then I keep moving. So it is challenging. But what I've learned over the years is that it's all about the fundamentals, right? It's all about the fundamentals. So it's all about working on your self-discipline, creating certain systems for yourself, creating non-negotiables. Okay, so a lot of us, like if you live in one location, it's easy to create certain habits and systems. When you move around, it's a bit more difficult. But it's about creating almost like a manifesto for yourself of those non-negotiable things. It doesn't matter which time zone you're in. It doesn't matter where you are. There are certain things that you simply do every single day, right? For me, I always start my day in a powerful way. I don't care what happened the night before. I have to start my day in a powerful way. I get up, and it differs, different days, different sequence, but usually I wake up, I get out right away. When the sun is rising, I want to get some of that natural light to reset my I'm losing the word, circadian rhythm. It's always a tricky word. To reset my circadian rhythm, right? So I get some light and it wakes me up. I don't drink coffee right away. I usually do gratitude. I do some affirmations, or I just try to figure out in my head what I'm going to do about the day to make the day epic. I ask myself, okay, if I could accomplish just 1 or 2 things today, what things, what activities, what tasks would make a difference? What is really important? And again, I believe in the 80-20 principle. I don't think that everything is equally important, because it's not. Things are not equally important. Some things are more important than others. So I ask myself, what do I have to do today to make it an epic day, right? So again, I start my day in a powerful way. And what I do is the first few hours of the day, I get into deep work. I don't check my phone. I don't go on Instagram. I don't, respond to messages. No, the first few hours of the day, I block out that time. I get in front of my laptop or a notepad, right? Whatever it is. And I get into deep work, no matter what, religiously. I don't care that the sun is going up and I'm by some beach, or, oh, I want to go for a hike. It doesn't matter, right? I have to pay my dues. I have to do my work, at least a few hours of deep work. And I tell you what, if you do this, if you have a nice morning ritual and you have several hours of uninterrupted work and you really focus, you deep focus in those few hours, you can accomplish more than a lot of people accomplish in a week. I kid you not. And I imagine it's noon or 1 p.m. and you know that whatever happens, you already won your day, right? So when I travel, I use, those things like going to the beach and fun stuff, fun adventures and meeting with friends. I use those things as a reward. First of all, I get my work done, and then I use those things as a reward. We could talk about it for a long time. I'm aware of the time. We have just 9 minutes left, so I'll have to move on. But thank you so much for the question. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. I don't see anything else here. Okay, cool, perfect.
Jimmy, we have a question that is from Rosida. He wants to ask, I often talk to a lot of people, but often get nervous and forget what I'm about to say. How can I get rid of this nervousness?
Okay, that is a very good question. It's a tricky one. I used to have that myself when I had social anxiety back in the day. And what I notice is that when you feel nervous, when you speak to other people, what happens is you get stuck in your own head. This is a problem. And you can probably resonate, right? You downward spiral. Suddenly, it feels like you're not just talking to a bunch of random people. It feels like you are giving a speech to the entire nation, right? That's how it feels. Like, wow, you are about to give a speech to the entire nation. You better say something smart. So this happens to a lot of people. And I feel like what helps, well, first of all, exposure. I talked about jumping into cold water before. That certainly helps. I also talked before about the importance, of just pushing that comfort zone and getting yourself into talkative state before. That also helps. But most importantly, shifting your mindset to, I don't have to be perfect. And this is kind of weird, right, to wrap our heads around. But oftentimes we want to come across certain way. We want people to like us. But it's important that we remind ourselves that paradoxically, the more you want other people to like you, the less they're going to like you, right? The more approval you seek, the more validation you want from other people, the less you're going to get it, because you are like a dog chasing its own tail. You probably, when you look at people who are the most confident and who are most charismatic and who get the most validation from other people, those individuals are not looking for it. They say whatever they want to say. They don't preoccupy themselves all the time what other people think. They just live their lives in freedom, right? So it's a paradox, right? But you, on the other hand, you get nervous because you want other people to like you and you want to say just the right thing. But probably because of that, because you get stiff and you can't say what you want to say, people can't really get to know you. So it's important to give yourself the permission to be imperfect, realizing that through that imperfection, you actually connect with other people. One actionable thing, because this is mindset work, but one actionable thing I can give you right away is, okay, watch podcasts. Okay, watch some really good podcasts and see what questions podcasters ask. Okay, analyze how they ask questions. Like literally analyze it. Joe Rogan is actually really amazing at doing this, right? So you want to see what type of questions they ask, and you want to write some of them down. And you want to come up with your own questions in advance, and you want to write them down. You want to create like a question bank, and you want to have them on the top of your head. And next time when you get into various situations, business or social, when you talk to people, be that person who asks questions and then listens intently. And honestly, this will make you a way better conversationalist. You see, a lot of people, they preoccupy themselves how they can speak in a more captivating way, how they can appear to be a rock star and be a really good speaker. But what's even more important is being a really good listener. If you do that, if you ask the right questions, and if you pay attention, if you're genuinely interested in people, you may have those weird situations when you talk to someone for an hour, they speak 90% of the time, they come out of the situation and they say, whoa, this person is such an amazing conversationalist, right? So yes, it's going to happen because people, there's the saying that people love to talk and they love to talk about themselves. I don't think this is completely true. I think what is true is that people love to get some type of recognition, because we live in a world where, more than ever, we feel anonymous, right? Like there's just so many people out there. It's just it's easy to feel like no one cares about you, right? So people love to get attention, genuine attention. People love to get this genuine feeling of, hey, someone cares about me. And if you give it to them, they're going to love you for it. Okay. So these are the easiest ways. And also work on your body language, really work on your body language. Now, I have to acknowledge right now, my body language is not perfect. The reason is I have this microphone. I just got it yesterday, by the way, and I realized I have to be quite close to it in order for you to hear me well. Otherwise, I would be talking like this. Right? But I have to kind of lean in a little bit. But again, work on your body language in various situations. Just because you don't feel comfortable doesn't mean that you should have uncomfortable body language. Don't have the close position. Always try to open up, and you will see the difference in how people perceive you, but also how you perceive yourself. So thank you for the question. And by the way, do that exercise I told you about at the beginning. Like, write down the things you appreciate about yourself and impossibilities that became your possibilities. And then remind yourself of the fact that you are better than you think you are. You have to remind yourself of that. Okay, so we have just 4 minutes left. So I want to share with you just final lesson. I'm going to make this the final lesson. Then let's see if we have another question I can maybe answer very quickly. But this is going to be a short one, and it has to do with making more money. And you see, a lot of people, they ask, hey, how do I get more clients? I need more clients. But they never really stop to look at the clients they already have. Right? This is like the biggest mistake. So you already have your network. You already have your existing clients. You have people who know you from various situations. Why not tap into that? Right? I feel like way too many people keep trying to get new clients without realizing, wait, hold on a second. I already had X number of clients in my life. Let me reach out to them. Let me see, maybe they need help with something. Right? Now, some people feel sleazy doing it. They feel like, oh, but they will know I'm reaching out because I want something from them. Well, but actually, you are in business together. You did business together. They paid you, but you gave them value. If you didn't give them value, they wouldn't pay you. So that was a beneficial business exchange. There is no problem with just checking in with them and just saying, hey, hope you are doing great. I've been working a lot on my skills and got this client and that client. I'm wondering, maybe there is something I can help you with. What is your challenge that you're currently experiencing, right? It doesn't cost you anything to do that. You already have that connection with them. They already know that you can deliver. So why not reach out to those existing connections, right? Also, when you do work for someone and you do really well, ask them for rating, ask them for a testimonial, right? Don't wait. And I made this mistake myself for so many years. I would wait and then never ask. Because sometimes, some people don't like to ask. I don't like to ask for help myself. I like to help others. I don't necessarily like to ask for help. But you have to learn how to ask for help. And if you help someone with something, it's perfectly fine to say, hey, listen, I see you enjoyed the project and you enjoyed my work. I would really appreciate if you could just give me like just one liner is fine. Just one little sentence or, a little paragraph, how you enjoyed working with me. This would be really appreciated. And then also ask for referrals. Just ask you, hey, is there anybody that you know that may need this type of service? You don't ask, you don't get. The easiest ways to get clients is to tap into your existing network. All right, guys, we've got literally 1 minute. I hope this window will not close automatically. But let me see if there are some other questions here. And I see, by the way, I see some of you like Isabella writing some of the golden statements here in the chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for the comments, everyone.
Yes. And Jimmy, we have a couple of questions, but I think we are short by time. And so probably we can take question from Alex. He has, I think, a very interesting question. And he's saying, I am Alex from Uganda. I want to ask, provided you are confident and able to answer everyone, and you find an arrogant person for business, how do you play with their arrogance?
Okay, that's a very good question. By the way, a lot of you, Alex, thank you for the question. A lot of you, and I'm not sure if Uganda, if you use Swahili as well. But if you use Swahili, I just want to say, asante sana rafiki yangu. Couldn't resist. Okay, first of all, for those of you, before I forget, you asked a lot of questions about confidence in here. I do have a lot of content, free content on confidence. The best way to get that content is to go to my Instagram, Jimmy Narain. I mean, I have content all over the place, but I do have a lot of short clips, from anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes. A lot of them are about confidence. On my YouTube channel as well, a lot of clips on confidence. So you can see those. And I have a free course as well. I think I may have 2 free courses. All right. So you can see them on Udemy. So there's plenty of resources that you can get for free about confidence. Okay. Your question is tricky. It's always tricky to deal with people like this. Let me first start with what not to do. So a lot of people, what happens is they perceive another person to be arrogant. And yes, oftentimes they are arrogant, but sometimes a lot of it is also our perception, not necessarily the situation itself. And then because we don't like that, we start acting the same way, right? They are arrogant. So now we start being a bit more arrogant. And we just fuel the fire. And guess what? That person most probably thinks that he or she is right. And you think that you are right. And now you get a conflict and you can't do business together, right? So it's important to, at least initially, minimize the possibility of having a full-blown conflict. Always be the bigger person, right? Always be the more diplomatic person. I'll talk about it a little bit. Having said that, there is a point, it's important to say, there's a point where you have to enforce your boundaries, and there is a point where you have to call the person out, right? If the person is really arrogant all the time, and the person pretends that they know everything about life, and if they keep, pointing at you, hey, do this or do that, and I know the best, there is a point, of course, it depends on a specific situation. Every situation is different, where you have to address that, and you have to talk to that person. I'll give you a little tip for this. When you get to that point, it is important that you don't confront them 100%, like full-blown confrontation, because they will not listen. They'll not listen to anything you have to say. They'll be so blinded by you confronting them that they'll just try to find the reasons why they are correct, and you'll not get anywhere. So what you want to do is you want to ask them, first of all, and this puts them off guard, ask them for permission. Hey, let's say that person's name is Tom. I want to say, hey, Tom, hey, would you mind? Do you have a minute? Yeah, okay. Would you mind if I ask you a very honest question? Would you mind if I talk to you about something very honestly? Again, what you're gonna say depends on the situation. But would you mind if I talk to you about something very honestly? Yeah, sure, right? Usually they say, yeah, sure. Okay, so now they said yes. They agreed to you being honest. Okay, so now it's also on them. You don't start with the negative right away. You want to start with something positive. You may say, hey, listen, you're really good at what you do. I have to say, you're a great manager. I see you create results for the team. I want to say I appreciate that. However, sometimes I feel that, and then you give them the feedback. And you don't say, I think, or you don't say, you do this, or you did that, or you behave like this. You say, Tom, I feel like sometimes you may come across a bit domineering. I feel like this. I may be wrong, by the way. I may be wrong, but I just feel like you may come across as whatever, or you may be doing this. And you see, when you use language like this, it's extremely hard to argue with someone who uses language like this. You're being extremely diplomatic. No one can argue with your feelings. That's why you say I feel versus I think. When you say I think, or when you say you do this or you do that, well, now you have a confrontation. When you say, I feel that, hard to argue with this. And then you give them the constructive criticism. And remember that sometimes you have to dose it. So when a person is a little bit egomaniacal, they won't get it right away. And if your expectation is that you give them feedback and they're going to get it right away, you are in for a rude awakening. It's not going to happen. So sometimes you give them a little bit of feedback. They won't get it right away. You close it off with something positive. You start positive, give them feedback, and then you close it off with something positive. Like, anyhow, listen, just want to share this with you. But overall, great working with you. Shake their hand, whatever. Move on. If they keep repeating the same behaviors, try again. Now, of course, there comes a point where you have to be more direct and tell them, hey, listen, you can't do this anymore, right? Or you can't act this way anymore. But I'm a big believer that it's always about diplomacy. If you're diplomatic from the beginning, if you use your words cleverly, I feel versus I think, if you start with something positive, end with positive, and then put constructive criticism in the middle, it's going to increase the probability they will listen to you, right? They'll take feedback on board. Also, what you can add is you could add something in the lines of, listen, nobody's perfect, right? Like, I want to share something with you, but listen, I'm sure there are a lot of things you don't like about me, right? Like, I'm not perfect, but here's something I really want to share with you. This is how I feel. And again, very hard to argue with something like this. Plus, you also lowered yourself a little bit. You show them, I'm not perfect. I also make mistakes. I'm sure there are some things you don't like about me, right? It lowers their guard. They're more likely to listen and get feedback on board. Anyhow, I'm aware of the time. So I hope this is helpful. There are a lot of different things I could mention here, but these are the first things that come to my mind.
Wonderful, wonderful, Jimmy. And thank you so much for answering all those questions from our lovely audience. And guys, this brings us to the end of this wonderful workshop with Jimmy. And once again, I would like to thank you, Jimmy, for taking out time to be a part of this event.
Thank you.
So, guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up for you. So don't forget to check out our events page. And to watch this session and other such wonderful sessions, subscribe to our official YouTube channel. And for all the designers and artists who are listening to this and wish to be a part of thriving design community, visit designhill.com. And on that note, I would like to say bye to everyone who joined us here today. Take care, guys, and stay safe.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for your time, Robin. Thank you for hosting. Everyone, thank you for your time, for tuning in. And thanks for all the questions. Go out there, live with power, take control of your life. Seriously, this is the main thing. I talked about leadership, lesson number 2, self-leadership. Take control of your life. Regain that control. You have more control than you think. Every single action is determined by this thing here. So if you're tired of being sick, start exercising, start eating healthy. If you're tired of not knowing enough, right now is the moment to buy that book and start reading it. If you're tired of not making enough money, now is the time to maybe make that intro video for your new clients and to write to your existing clients. Just go out there. It's all up to you. So, hey, once again, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram. You've got all the info in there. Robin, thank you for hosting the session.